Well, still outside St. Peter's Basilica in St. Peter's Square there. But in the meantime, though, we do have to keep it moving with more of these top headlines, including so much more of the reporting coming out of the Pentagon in Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth's inner circle, or should I say lack of inner circle, because many of his top advisors, remember, were placed on administrative leave last week, and they were summarily fired by Friday night. Well, a lot of them are speaking out. The New York Times also has new reporting to suggest that yet another Signal group chat was created and formed by Secretary Hegseth that also discussed key sensitive information about those strikes on Houthi targets, March the 15th here. Well, Fox's Jared Halpern has more on all of this. Let's listen.
This group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth lashing out at the media after new reports about a second Signal chat related to recent airstrikes in Yemen. This time, Hegseth is accused of sharing attack plans on the non-secure app with his wife, his brother, and 11 other people. Multiple officials say those types of operational details could put American lives at risk. Hegseth claims no classified material was shared.
See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
Democrats responding quickly to the new allegations, saying they call Hegseth's judgment into question, with many pushing for him to be replaced, including Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who wrote on social media, quote, "The details keep coming out. We keep learning how Pete Hegseth put lives at risk, but Trump is still too weak to fire him." President Trump says he has complete faith in Hegseth's ability to lead the Pentagon. And the White House is suggesting those who revealed information about the Signal chat should be the ones getting fired.
No classified information was shared in these chats, but you do have leakers who are leaking classified information, which is a crime.
Hegseth's use of the Signal app is now under investigation by the Pentagon's acting inspector general. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Jared, thanks so much. So let's listen to a little bit more of Secretary Hegseth today on the front lawn there at the White House for the Easter egg roll. He spoke with reporters briefly. Let's listen.
Hey, we're happy to be here at the Easter egg roll, I'll tell you that. Be with the family, beautiful day. And President Trump is changing the country. And he's creating opportunities for families all across America to better their lives. And that's what Make America Great Again is all about.
What do you want to say, sir, about the Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't get back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. And on hoaxes, time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me, because we're changing the Defense Department, putting the Pentagon back in the hands of warfighters, and anonymous smears from disgruntled former employees on old news doesn't matter. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because, you know, this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting the fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters. Hoaxsters. This group, no, this group right here, full of hoaxsters that peddle anonymous sources from leakers with axes to grind, and then you put it all together as if it's some news story. And when we know it, we know exactly what it is. So I'm really proud of what we're doing for the president, fighting hard across the board, and I'm going to go roll some Easter eggs with my kids. Thank you very much.
Okay, so quite defiant there by Secretary Hegseth. And so the New York Times was reporting that Hegseth shared operational details of that March 15th strike, those multiple strikes on Houthi targets in Yemen, in a second chat on the encrypted platform Signal there, but unclassified, as you know. Signal unclassified, but encrypted. So on that very chat group included his wife, his brother, and a personal lawyer, according to the reporting by the New York Times. Now, The chief spokesperson at the Pentagon put out this statement in relation to the latest report. Sean Parnell says this: "Another day, another old story, back from the dead. The Trump-hating media continues to be obsessed with destroying anyone committed to President Trump's agenda. This time, the New York Times and all other fake news that repeat their garbage are enthusiastically taking the grievances of disgruntled former employees as the sole sources for their article. They relied only on the words of people who were fired this week and appear to have a motive to sabotage the secretary and the president's agenda. There was no classified information in any signal chat, no matter how many ways they try to write the story. What is true is that the Office of the Secretary of Defense is continuing to become stronger and more efficient in executing President Trump's agenda." Well, the New York Times, their communications team, responding to that statement, saying this: "We're confident in the accuracy of our reporting, which revealed the Defense Secretary shared sensitive information in a signal chat that included his wife and brother, among others." They say the Pentagon has not denied the existence of the chat, and its assertion that there was no classified information shared in any chat is beside the point when it comes to our story, which did not characterize the information as classified. Now, in the meantime, also there at the Easter egg roll today at the White House, President Trump was asked about this in addition to a number of other topics here. This is what he had to say. Let's listen to this.
Well, I met two of them, and look, these are great gentlemen. They're great. If they weren't, they wouldn't be Pope.
President, do you remain confident in Hegseth? Do you remain confident in Hegseth?
Oh, total.
President Trump.
Why do you even ask a question like that? We have recruitments that's at an all-time high. The spirit in the armed forces is fantastic. No, great confidence.
President Trump,
Can you share your message about Secretary Hegseth using Signal to discuss those military plans?
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago.
There was a new report this weekend that he used it in a separate chat that included some family members.
It's all just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
Sir, your message to Catholics, sir, mourning the loss of Pope Francis. Your message to Catholics, sir.
We love you all. We're with you all. They were with me during the election, as you know, very strongly, and it's just an honor to have the support of the Catholics, and I feel very badly for them because they love the Pope.
No matter who the next Pope is, sir, no matter who the next Pope is elected, whoever that may be, what relationship do you hope to have with the incoming Pope?
I think very good. I've had that, but I think very good.
Do you think Russia and Ukraine can get in a deal this week? Do you think Russia and Ukraine can get a deal
this week? There's a very good chance.
Are you happy with how the European Union is handling the tariffs right now? Are you happy with Europe right now?
They've been fun. We'll end up having a deal. We're going to ultimately have a deal with anyone. If we don't, we're going to make it anyway. But we're going to ultimately have. The economy is very good. We don't have inflation. Energy's down at the lowest it's been in years. We hit actually $1.98 recently in a couple of states. I think we're doing really well. We're all set. There's a little transition, and that's going to happen. But ultimately, we're going to be the strongest that we've ever been as a nation. Thank you.
Okay, so that was just what we call a gaggle here in journalism, taking questions from reporters there at the White House for the Easter egg roll today, with some of the questions about Secretary of Defense Hegseth, whether or not he still has confidence in him, and he somewhat dismissed the latest kind of tranche in this saga and scandal that continues to envelop not only the Pentagon, but Hegseth's inner circle here, so much so that there was a single source, anonymous source report in NPR today that said the White House was considering replacing Hegseth, so much so that Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, put out this on social media saying this NPR story is total fake news based on one anonymous source who clearly has no idea what they are talking about. As the president said this morning, he stands strongly behind the SecDef there. All right, in the meantime, we do want to talk about this even further with our friend and our colleague there, national security analyst and expert and retired Marine intelligence officer, Hal Keer. He joins me. Hal, good to see you here. And we talked about this last week, that these three individuals that were very close in Hegseth's kind of inner circle, even before Hegseth got to the Pentagon, that they were placed on administrative leave, that they were denied access to the Pentagon, to the building itself. They were escorted out of the building because of some of these inquiries ongoing into leaks. That's all we were told. We weren't entirely sure whether or not they were even related to, I guess I'll refer to it as Signalgate 1.0. And now the three of them were fired on Friday. Hegseth is claiming that all three of them, his friends, his allies, that they have an axe to grind against him. Do you buy that?
Andrew, it really gets into the compounding factor of this. Now, these three are all very close to Pete Hegseth. They're not, this isn't something where the established Pentagon bureaucracy or whatever was there. These are people that he brought in, particularly his chief of staff that he brought in. And now they're all gone. The three were fired, which was rather surprising. I assumed administrative leave, and then sure enough, boom, they were turned around, they're fired. And from what I can gather and what they're saying is they have seen no investigation. There's nothing that was done. There's a report that they were supposed to be polygraphed. From what I understand, nobody's been polygraphed on this. And it sounds like basically judgment was passed very quickly. Now, I don't know. The Secretary could be operating on some classified information, and that's why what was done was done. But what's happened within the Pentagon is you've lost 10 very senior flag and general officers. They have been basically fired, relieved, whatever, forced to retire. That's happened. That's really shaken up the uniform side of the house. Then you have something like this. You have Signalgate 1, where it was clearly what was released indicated that operational security details, things that would normally be classified, were being shared by the Secretary in a group chat. Now, this was an inappropriate format, signal chat, for that type of discussion, but also that someone had invited in, ostensibly Mike Waltz, but somebody had invited in a very senior journalist into the group, which
right. Hal, that was an inadvertent mistake. This reporting in this signal group chat, it was Hegseth's wife, brother. From what I understand, his brother does have a job at the Pentagon in a role, and his personal attorney here. That's not a mistake, right?
No, that's the difference. This one, you have people that have been deliberately invited in. There's no mistake involved. That should have not been part of that conversation. Now, one can make an argument that if his brother is employed by the Pentagon, he would probably have a clearance and have access. I understand his personal attorney also has some role with the Pentagon, so potentially has a clearance. And also, there's been reports for the last couple of weeks that Pete Hegseth invites his wife into some of these meetings where they're discussing, ostensibly classified, but certainly very close hold, confidential information that shouldn't be. That it seemed very inappropriate for everybody that his wife would be in those meetings. Again, I don't know, in those situations, sometimes the spouse will be vetted for a clearance and have a clearance because just by proximity, she's going to come across things. So they will grant her some sort of clearance. But with that, it seemed very strange that all this is happening. And of course, then what's come out with his former acting press secretary who left rather hurriedly, very strangely. And
let's discuss this. I want to just back up really briefly here. Let's get back to these three individuals who were fired. They put out a joint statement, Hal, over the weekend. I'm not sure if you saw this.
I saw it, yeah.
Dan Caldwell, Colin Carroll, and Darren Selnick. They said this: "We're incredibly disappointed by the manner in which our service at the Department of Defense ended." They said unnamed Pentagon officials have slandered our character with baseless attacks on our way out the door. They said all three of us served our country honorably in uniform. For two of us, this included deployments to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. They say, and based on our collective service, we understand the importance of information security and worked every day to protect it. They say at this time, we still have not been told what exactly we were investigated for, if there is still an active investigation, or if there was even a real investigation of quote-unquote leaks to begin with. They say, while this experience has been unconscionable, we remain supportive of the Trump-Vance administration's mission to make the Pentagon great again and achieve peace through strength. They say we hope in the future to support those efforts in different capacities. So put that to the side. You just referenced this opinion piece in Politico over the weekend as well, by the now former, I guess, chief spokesperson at the Pentagon. And I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name. His name is John Oliot, former chief Pentagon spokesman. The first sentence of his opinion piece goes as follows: "It's been a month of total chaos at the Pentagon." I mean, he's all but implicitly saying Hegseth should step down here. So what is going on in the Pentagon? What does this do to the image of the Pentagon, the readiness of troops, our position on the world stage vis-a-vis so many of the conflicts you and I discuss each and every night here? What say you, Hal?
Well, what I will tell you is, the thing with John Williams' thing is he talks about total chaos in the Pentagon. And then Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, turned around and basically, in so many words, and it could have been just the way she was describing it, but she basically was saying that the entire Pentagon was basically lined up against the Secretary of Defense. And again, it could have been just incredibly poor choice of words, but she made it sound like he was fighting the Pentagon staff, some 27,000 or 20,000. I think someone said 20,000, but it's 27,000 that worked there. Regardless of that, the chaos, there has to be a trust and confidence in the leadership at the Pentagon. And all of these things, they have a compounding factor. When you have all of these things with the change of uniform leadership, everybody around the secretary, old friends, personal confidants that suddenly are gone. And, these three come out and say, hey, look, we were never told what we're being investigated about. We don't know, there was nothing said that there was any investigation that proved we were doing something wrong. It really starts to look like the secretary, and this is the appearance, is the secretary has kind of lost control of his office, if you will. And that's going to be something that the president's going to have to deal with.
Yeah. So
is the appearance, and by the way, this is what's coming in across from Congress as well, and it's bipartisan. There are Republicans who are also actually, at least one, certainly one senator who's very much Republican senator talking about, that it's time for a Hegseth to go. So when I hear that thing that they're looking for somebody else, I heard a rather interesting comment, and this really goes back to, way back into Donald Trump's history. They said Donald Trump is 100% behind you until he's just not.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody's kind of looking at back there, which is, if he's not looking for a replacement Secretary of Defense, I would be surprised.
So Caroline Leavitt says that NPR story is fake news. You heard there from President Trump briefly saying, yes, he still has the confidence of Pete Hegseth. Though in this opinion piece, Oliot says, in short, the building is in disarray under Hegseth's leadership. Now, there's some conflicting reports on whether he was asked to resign or left the Pentagon willfully there. Others, though, that we've been discussing were first placed on administrative leave and then fired here. So I thought that was interesting. To your point, though, haven't heard from many Republicans in both the House and the Senate about what they think should happen next. We have heard from one, though, one of these moderate Republicans in the swing district. That's Don Bacon, the Republican from Nebraska here. I want to put this up. Bacon is the first GOP lawmaker to publicly suggest Hegseth should be fired. Bacon said he's acting like he's above the law, and that shows an amateur person here. Hal, we got to get going, but last question to you. Does Hegseth survive all this?
The next 48 hours are going to be very telling. I think everybody in D.C. is wondering what's going to happen over the next couple of days. I think tomorrow we're going to get a sense if there's a shift in the president's view on this. If you start to hear a shift in the language away from it, that'll indicate which way he's going. Certainly right now, the indication is the White House is going to basically try and weather the storm. You heard the language today, which is all signals, old news, even though this is a completely new story. They're trying to push this aside. But honestly, with the amount of attention on this right now, and certainly with these just stunning, I don't know if you want to say revelations or these, this op-ed, the basically this, the three who were fired coming out. I just don't see this thing's dying this week. And I think that at some point, the White House doesn't want the Secretary of Defense to be a distraction from everything else they're doing. So they're going to have to make a decision.
All right. Hal Kemper, good to see you. Hope you had a great weekend. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
All right, in the meantime here, we do want to take our final commercial break of this hour. Still a few more top headlines we're going to squeeze in. We'll see you after the break.